So we have Iris, Abby, Franklin, Gilbert, Judy, and Evening here right now. I want to hear from you. Can somebody talk?
Hi, Sherry. I can hear you. Yes.
Who's this?
Judy.
Oh, hi, Judy.
Hi. I'm Franklin's mom, so I'm just joining with you.
Franklin is there with you?
Yeah. He's just sitting next to me.
Okay. So how about we start with an introduction again? Because we just barely have a one-time meeting last time. So say your name and say one thing you learned from last class. So go ahead, Hubert. Can you talk?
Hi, my name is Hubert, and one thing I learned last class is about Chinese New Year and how it works.
Chinese New Year, awesome. So Evening, can you talk?
Yes.
Can you say your name and what one thing you learned from last class?
Um. My name is Ying, and one thing I learned was that Chinese New Year is the most important holiday in China.
What do you remember about Chinese New Year?
There's a lot of firecrackers. It's very loud.
Have you seen a lot of firecrackers in the US?
Yes.
Okay. Do you like it or you don't like it?
No.
You don't like it? Okay. Okay, awesome. So keep your video on for a few minutes because we want to know each other as well. Okay. So try to keep your video on. We want to make you group be friends in the future and also take some leadership activities in the future. Okay, so we have Judy. Judy is Franklin's mom. Judy, can you talk a couple of things? Did you attend the last class? What did you learn, Judy? And I want to hear from mom too, Judy.
Hello. Hi. So Franklin and I was only able to join the very end of last meeting, but we did hear part of the Chinese culture presentation. And what I learned from that presentation is about the different between the Chinese Qingming Festival and the American Memorial Day. And yeah, Qingming is more of memorization of the ancient and family member, but Americans Memorial Day is more for the soldier and so on to memorize those people who fight for the country.
It's good. I see Franklin is chatting with us. Franklin, can you talk too? You can all have your video on, so we get to know each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so Franklin cannot talk. But yeah, Franklin can. We can bring Franklin back after a little bit. So who else is here? Iris. Hey, so Franklin, if you can talk, you can unmute yourself first, and then you can talk.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit what you heard last time?
China, I guess. Yeah, that's all I remember.
Have you been to China before?
Something about and then they celebrate.
问你有没有去过 China?
Yeah, I guess.
Where did you go? You remember one place you went?
A hotel.
Hotel in which city?
Yeah, they had a buffet there. It was nice.
Shanghai.
Buffet. Remember the city and the province.
Oh yeah, and I also went to this house. Yeah, house.
Okay, so next time try to remember the name of the city and the province. Okay, awesome. So Austin, I see your name's there. Austin, can you have your video on and talk?
Bye.
Hello.
Hey Austin,
Hi.
what did you learn from last class? Do you remember what did you learn from the math?
What we talked about Chinese New Year and like the culture of.
How was the math class?
We learned about like the hold on, what was it called? The Fibonacci spiral.
Oh, awesome.
Mhm.
So why this sparrow looks beautiful?
Because it's like it follows a sequence like called the Fibonacci spiral, and that's why it looks beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Good job, Austin. And we'll have a next one. Iris, are you ready? You can unmute yourself before you can talk. And all of you can keep your video on for a few minutes so we can know each other. So, Iris, you are the next. And who else? Abby, I see your name there. Can you have your video on and talk to us? What did you learn from last class?
I think it's like the.
Okay, so Iris, you can talk now. I see yours is on. Iris is.
What?
Just go ahead to talk.
I am talking.
Yes, tell me a few things you learned from last class.
It was like the spiral and
Okay.
like there was it all the
A spiral, right? Okay, awesome. So Abby, can you share one thing you learned?
I learned about the Fibonacci sequence.
Okay, awesome. Fibonacci. Who remembered that? What's the number for that Fibonacci sequence? Or there is a golden, what do you call it? Golden rule? Like 0.6 something? Do you remember that number?
1.6 something.
Okay, 1.6 something, right? Okay, awesome. So let me see, who else we didn't get a chance to ask you to talk? And then you can talk now. Okay, I think that's all of us here today. And there's one attendee, Manny. I'll get him promote to panelist so he can talk. So Manny, can you hear us? You can unmute yourself and talk about one thing you learned from last class.
The Chinese culture.
What one culture you remember?
Chinese New Year festival.
New Year. What kind of food do we normally eat during the Chinese New Year?
Dumplings.
Dumplings. Awesome. Thank you, Manny. And Aria, I see your name here now. Can you talk one thing about what you learned? Okay, Aria, need to unmute yourself if you can. So whenever you are ready, you can talk. Okay, now we'll get the floor back to Grace. Miss Grace gave us a very good class last time about the Fibonacci sequence, and also we draw the spiral, and she's going to share more interesting things about math. Thank you, Grace. You can start now.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Can you let me share my screen?
Sure. So there's all panelists that can share screen now. I'll make that available for you. So you can share now.
Okay, great. Are you guys able to see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, so first we're going to continue to share a fun video. That's Fibonacci theory 2. We'll learn more about it. And next, I will share some PowerPoint and we'll learn golden angle, because last time we learned the Fibonacci theory and we learned the golden ratio. This time we're going to learn golden angle and the golden circle and how we use them in designing in art world. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's the relationship between number theory, algebra, and the geometry, and why do we need to learn them? Just using the Fibonacci series we learned. Then I will demo how we draw an acorn in Excel using math. Like you think this is a picture in art, but behind it, it's all math. Then we'll leave for 15 minutes. Let Manning lead the Math Olympiad. All right, let's kick off. I hope you guys can get a picture, a paper, and after this video, we're gonna draw a petal and draw a flower using Fibonacci theory, and also I'm gonna ask the question: what is how many degree is golden angle? What is the golden angle? All right, let's start.
Grace, you also need to share your computer sound if you remember how to do that.
Yes, sorry.
And we can here right now.
Let me share my computer
sound.
I believe it's here. Share computer sound. Okay.
Doodling flowery petally things. If you want something with lots of overlapping petals, you're probably following a loose sort of rule that goes something like this. Add new petals where there's gaps between old petals. You can try doing this precisely. Start with some number of petals, say 5, then add another layer in between. But the next layer you have to add 10, and the next has 20. The inconvenient part of this is that you have to finish a layer before everything is even. Ideally, you'd have a rule that just lets you add petals until you get bored. Now imagine you're a plant and you want to grow in a way that spreads out your leaves to catch the most possible sunlight. Unfortunately, and I hope I'm not presuming too much in thinking that, as a plant, you're not very smart. You don't know how to add numbers to create a series, you don't know geometry and proportions, and can't draw spirals or rectangles or slug cats. But maybe you could follow one simple rule. Botanists have noticed that plants seem to be fairly consistent when it comes to the angle between one leaf and the next. So let's see what you could do with that. So you grow your first leaf, and if you didn't change angle at all, then the next leaf you grow would be directly above it, so that's no good because it blocks all the light or something. You could go 180 degrees to have the next leaf directly opposite, which seems ideal, only once you go 180 again, the third leaf is right over the first. In fact, any fraction of a circle with a whole number as a base is going to have complete overlap after that number of turns, and unlike when you're doodling, as a plant, you're not smart enough to see you've gone all the way around and now should switch to adding things in between. If you try and postpone the overlap by making the fraction really small, you just get a ton of overlap in the beginning and waste all this space, which is completely disastrous. Or maybe other fractions are good, the kind that position leaves in a star-like pattern. It will be a while before it overlaps, and the leaves will be more evenly spaced in the meantime. But what if there were a fraction that never completely overlapped? For any rational fraction, eventually the star will close, but what if you used an irrational number, the kind of number that can't be expressed as a whole numbered ratio? What if you used the most irrational number? If you think it sounds weird to say one irrational number is more irrational than another, well, you might want to become a number theorist. If you're a number theorist, you might tell us that phi is the most irrational number, or you might say that's like saying of all the integers, 1 is the integeriest, or you might disagree completely, but anyway, phi. It's more than 1, but less than 2, more than 3 over 2, less than 5 over 3, greater than 8 over 5, but 13 over 8 is too big, 21 over 13 is just a little too small, and 34 over 21 is even closer but too big, and so on. Each pair of adjacent Fibonacci numbers creates a ratio that gets closer and closer to phi as the numbers increase. Those are the same numbers on the sides of these squares. Now stop being a number theorist and start being a plant again. You put your first leaf somewhere, and the second leaf at an angle which is 1/5th of a circle, which, depending on whether you're going one way or the other, could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add the next one 1/5th of a circle away, and again, and again. You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the spaces left between old leaves, but it never quite fills things evenly, so there's always room for one more leaf without having to do a whole new layer. It's very practical, and as a plant you probably like this. It would also be a good way to give lots of room to seed pods and petals and stuff. As a plant that follows this scheme, you'd be at an advantage. Where do spirals come in? Let's doodle a pinecone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees, detach your angulotron, and you're good to go. Add each new pinecone thing a phi angle around, and make them a little farther out each time, which you can keep track of by marking the distance on your angulotron. Check it out! The spirals form by themselves, and if we count the number of arms, look, it's 5 and 8. If you're wondering why spirals would form, and why always with Fibonacci numbers, you could morph back into a number theorist or a geometer or something, but here's just a little bit of intuition. One simple way to doodle a flower is to start with a certain number of petals, say 5, and when you go back around, add the next layer close to the first, but bigger. Each layer adds 5 new petals, and the 5 arms spiral out. Looks pretty spirally to me. Now go back to phi. You put out 3 petals before you go back around, and if I make them really wide, the next lap adds 3 petals that overlap a bunch with the first, and so on. If I started with skinnier petals, though, the second time you go around it doesn't quite overlap so much, and it takes 8 petals before it goes around twice and they overlap enough for you to see the spirals. So this time I get 8 and 13. I mean, none of the spirals are actually physically there on any of these plants, it's just the plant bits are close enough that you can see the pattern. So all a plant needs to do to get awesome Fibonacci numbers of spirals is add new bits at 137.5 degree angles. The rest takes care of itself. That the Fibonacci series is in so many things really says less about those things and more about mathematics. I mean, that's what mathematics is all about. Simple rules, complex consequences. A process so easy that even a plant can do it, can turn into these amazing structures all around us. Just like a few simple postulates can give us an incredibly powerful geometry. I mean, that's all assuming that a plant can do it. But measuring the angles between plant bits, you can see they obviously do it somehow. I mean, it's not like they have anglotrons, but plants have been around a long time and have had a lot of practice, so that probably explains everything. And thus, we always get spirals of 5 and 8 on this flower, 5 and 8 on this artichoke, 5 and 8 on this pine cone. Even this cauliflower has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anyway, we always get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4? It's easy to dismiss these as mutant anomalies, but just because they're different and unusual doesn't mean we should ignore them. 4, 7, 11? What could these numbers mean? Maybe things aren't as simple as I thought.
All right, I hope you guys enjoy the video. So we had said math is so simple that a plant, even a plant can do it. Do you guys agree with it? Do you guys agree?
Sure.
Oh, okay. At least it's good. It's so simple. So if a plant can do it, it should be easy for us, for a human, because we are the most intelligent animal in the world, right? Because somebody doesn't agree. Okay, I think so. Everybody agree math is simple. All right, so let me ask the question: how much degree is the golden angle?
Even though District 4
What did you just say? You can just go on the speak and talk. How much is golden angle? How much degree?
222.5.
Awesome. And it could be another number.
$137.5.
Awesome. Thanks, Elisa. And who just said 222?
That was me.
Elisa as well?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, the second question, how do we get this number? How do we get 137.5? Okay, let me ask another question. What is the golden ratio? Which number is that? Which number is golden ratio?
Like 1.6 something.
Great, 1.618. And how do we get from golden ratio to golden angle? So how much degree is the whole circle? 180 or 360?
360.
So what is 360 divided by golden ratio?
Like about 222-ish.
Bingo, that's exactly how we got the golden angle, right? It's 360 degrees divided by 1.618. That's how we got the golden angle. So golden angle, you can either say it's 137.5 or 222. All right, next we're gonna draw some petals. I'm gonna replay portion of the video. We're going to use the golden angle to draw the flower petal. And can you guys take out a paper? And before the class, I ask everybody to get an angle ruler. If you have an angle ruler, the degree of the angle, that's 137.5. I don't know if you guys have the similar angle ruler, but if you don't, you can follow the video to build an angle ruler by yourself. All right, let's watch it again.
Which is 1/5 of a circle, which, depending on whether you're going one way or the other, could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add.
All right, can you guys follow the instruction and draw the flower petal, draw leaves? Because that's how exactly a flower grows. That's the way how they got the maximum of sun.
And again, you put your first leaf somewhere and the second leaf at an angle which is 1/5 of a circle.
So I'm gonna, after you guys done, I'm gonna let everyone show what they draw, okay?
Circle, which, depending on whether you're going one way or the other, could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add the next one, 1/5 of a circle away, and again and again. You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the spaces left between old leaves, but it never quite fills things evenly, so there's always room for one more leaf without having to do a whole new layer. It's very practical, and as a plant you probably like this. It would also be a good way to give lots of room to seed pods and petals and stuff. As a plant that follows this scheme, you'd be at an advantage. Where do spirals come in? Let's doodle a pine cone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees. Detach your angulotron and you're good to go.
Okay, I'm going to replay the angulotron, how you make it. So first,
a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees.
That's 45 degree. You make the line the same, equal. Then this is the 45 degree, and plus the 90 degree. That's 135 degree. Then you move over a little bit, make 137.5 degree. I mean, it doesn't have to be precise, just in ballpark. That's how you make a golden angle by yourself.
degrees plus 90, which is 135, pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees, detach your angulotron, and you're good to go. Add each new pinecone thing a phi angle around, and make them a little farther out each time, which you can keep track of by marking the distance on your angulotron. Check it out! The spirals form by themselves, and if we count the number of arms, look, it's 5 and 8. If you're wondering why spirals would form, and why only a second leaf at an angle which is 1/5 of a circle.
So you guys can follow the video and draw the flower petal. And once someone's done, just to show me on the screen, okay? Is that okay?
Okay.
Which, depending on whether you're going one way or the other, could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add the next one a fifth of a circle away, and again, and again. You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the spaces left between old leaves, but it never quite fills things evenly, so there's always room for one more leaf without having to do a whole new layer. It's very practical, and as a plant you probably like this. It would also be a good way to give lots of room to seed pods and petals and stuff. As a plant that follows this scheme, you'd be at an advantage. Where do spirals come in? Let's doodle a pinecone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135, pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees, detach your angulotron, and you're good to go. Add each new pinecone thing a phi angle around, and make them a little farther out each time, which you can keep track of by marking the distance on your angulotron. Check it out! The spirals form by themselves, and if we count the number of arms, look, it's 5 and 8. If you're wondering why spirals would form, and why always with Fibonacci numbers, you could morph back into a number theorist or a geometer or something, but here's just a little bit of intuition. One simple way to doodle a flower is to start with a certain number of petals, say 5, and when depending on whether you're going one way or the other, could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add the next one a fifth of a circle away, and again, and again. You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the spaces left between old leaves, but it never quite fills things evenly, so there's always room for one more leaf without having to do a whole new layer. It's very practical, and as a plant you probably like this. It would also be a good way to give lots of room to seed pods and petals and stuff. As a plant that follows this scheme, you'd be at an advantage. Where do spirals come in? Let's doodle a pinecone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135, pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees, detach your angulotron, and you're good to go. Add each new pinecone thing a phi angle around, and make them a little farther out each time, which you can keep track of by marking the distance on your angulotron. Check it out! The spirals form by themselves, and if we count the number of arms, look, it's 5 and 8. If you're wondering why spirals would form, and why always with Fibonacci numbers, you could morph back into a number theorist or a geometer or something, but here's just a little bit of intuition. One simple way to doodle a flower is to start with a certain number of petals, say 5, and when you go back around, add the next same numbers on the sides of these squares. Now stop being a number theorist and start being a plant again. You put your first leaf somewhere, and the second leaf at an angle which is 1/5 of a circle, which, depending on whether you're going...
If someone's done, just show me on the screen, right? Okay, I'm just gonna keep a replace this part of the video, so if someone just missed it, you can follow again.
One way or the other could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add the next one a fifth of a circle away, and again, and again. You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the spaces left between old leaves, but it never quite fills things evenly, so there's always room for one more leaf without having to do a whole new layer. It's very practical, and as a plant you probably like this. It would also be a good way to give lots of room to seed pods and petals and stuff. As a plant that follows this scheme, you'd be at an advantage. Where do spirals come in? Let's doodle a pinecone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees. Detach your angulotron and you're good to go. Add each new pinecone thing a phi angle around, and make them a little farther out each time, which you can keep track of by marking the distance on your angulotron. Check it out! The spirals form by themselves, and if we count the number of arms, look, it's 5 and 8. If you're wondering why spirals would form, and why always with Fibonacci numbers, you could morph back into a number theorist or a geometer or something, but here's just a little bit of intuition. One simple way to doodle a flower is to start with a certain number of petals, say 5, and when you go back around, add the next layer close to the first, but bigger. The numbers increase. Those are the same numbers on the sides of these squares. Now stop being a number theorist and start being a plant again. You put your first leaf somewhere, and the second leaf at an angle which is 1/5th of a circle, which, depending on whether you're going one way or the other, could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add the next one 1/5th of a circle away, and again, and again. You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the spaces left between old leaves, but it never quite fills things evenly, so there's always room for one more leaf without having to do a whole new layer. It's very practical, and as a plant you probably like this. It would also be a good way to give lots of room to seed pods and petals and stuff. As a plant that follows this scheme, you'd be at an advantage. Where do spirals come in? Let's doodle a pinecone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees. Detach your angulotron and you're good to go. Add each new pinecone thing a phi angle around, and make them a little farther out each time,
done.
which you can keep track of by marking the distance on your angulotron.
Manny's done. Let Manny show the his petals. Looks good, Manny. Good job.
Check it out! The spirals form by themselves, and if we count the number of arms, look, it's 5 and 8. If you're wondering why spirals would form, and why always with Fibonacci numbers, you could morph back into a number theorist or a geometer or something, but here's just a little bit of intuition. One simple way to doodle a flower is to start with a certain number of petals, say 5, and when you go back around, add the next layer close to the first, but bigger. Each layer adds 5 new petals.
So, anybody else done? Just show on the screen. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? It can just be 5 petals, that's fine. Or 8 petals, that's okay.
The numbers increase.
Awesome. Can you put a little bit closer? That's the union, right? Awesome. Looks perfect. Great. Thank you.
Those are the same numbers on the sides of these squares. Now stop being a number theorist and start being a plant again. You put your first leaf somewhere, and the second
them, okay? If you have spare time, if you're just waiting, you can just color the flower.
Leaf at an angle which is 1/5th of a circle, which, depending on whether you're going one way or the other, could be about 222.5 degrees or about 137.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first, gets lots of space and sun, and now let's add the next one 1/5th of a circle away, and again, and again. You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the spaces left between old leaves, but it never quite fills things evenly, so there's always room for one more leaf without having to do a whole new layer. It's very practical, and as a plant you probably like this.
Someone else just said he's done. Who was that? Oh, Franklin. Let's see Franklin's oh wait, wait a second, let me show your screen. How do I show your screen? One second, sorry, Franklin. I just try to make your screen bigger. 1 second, okay? Let me see how. How do I show the participant? Sorry, I hope everybody saw Frank's screen. Yeah, I'm not able to make the screen big. Awesome.
It would also be a good way to give lots of room to seed pods and petals and stuff. As a plant that follows this scheme, you'd be at an advantage. Where do spirals come in?
Give everybody 3 more minutes, then you'll just show whatever you're done. Okay, we'll move on.
Let's doodle a pinecone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees, detach your angulotron, and you're good to go. Add each new pinecone thing a phi angle around, and make them a little farther out each time, which you can keep track of by marking the distance on your angulotron. Check it out! The spirals form by themselves, and if we count the number of arms, look, it's 5 and 8. If you're wondering why spirals would form, and why always with Fibonacci numbers, you could morph back into a number theorist or a geometer or something, but here's just a little bit of intuition. One simple way to doodle a flower is to start with a certain number of petals, say 5, and when you go back around, add the next layer close to the...
All right, I'm just gonna call out names. Aria, are you done? Aria, are you on? By the way, thanks for joining this class. What about Hubert?
I'm not done. Can you like come back?
Okay, you want me to replay the video? Oh, later on? Check later on? Okay, sure. Thank you.
So Grace, probably they have some problems in finishing this. If you can draw one on paper and like a one step at a time, kind of show them what's the first step and then draw second step.
Okay, so let me ask, does anybody have a problem making the golden angle? The angle saw? Are you guys able to make one? I know, I think probably a lot of people, you guys don't have the ruler. Do you guys have any difficulty to make an angle saw?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so let's watch how to make an angle saw first, okay? Because that's your tool. You need a tool to...
Yeah, Franklin said even his mom don't know how to do it. And I found it's pretty difficult for me as well.
to follow?
By the way, you can make your own...
Okay, let's do step by step. So first you take a paper and dog ear it and make it 45 degrees. Is that difficult? If just speak up if you have difficulty to do that.
It's pretty easy.
Where do spirals come in? Let's doodle a pinecone using this same method. By the way, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5.
Okay.
If you're careful...
So this is good, right? Everybody make a dog ear using your paper and get 135 degree. Does anybody have any difficulty to do this step?
No.
No? Awesome. Let's go on.
If you have a difficulty,
you can slip in a couple more
or you
degrees.
wanted to be more,
and you're good
you
to
can
go.
speak out. We need your feedback. Okay, the student
Then
you
move
need to
a
speak up.
little bit. Just move on a little bit. Then we make 137.5 degree. Anybody having difficulty to do this? Then you tear off following the line. Get this angle of thought. Let me know if you are done. Just say I'm done. I'll make sure everybody's done by this step. And by the way, we're just going to do 3 petals, okay? Because for Fibonacci, maybe 5. Fibonacci, you know, it's 1 plus 1 plus 2 equal to 2. 2 plus 1 equal to 3. Then next number is 2 plus 3 equal to 5. We'll just make 5, okay? 5 petals. Everybody is done with the angle of thought. Did everybody build your tool?
I'm done.
Great. Austin, are you done?
Not yet.
Okay. Step 1, you make a 45-degree dog ear. Just fold your paper, make 45 degree. Then you plus the 90 degree it already have, and then you move your paper a little bit, make 137.5 degree. Then you tear it off.
Right, you can make your own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees.
This is 135, right?
Plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees, detach your...
So you move up a little bit, so the angle is 137.5. Then you just tear off the paper. Everybody got that? Aiden, are you able to make the angle thaw? Aiden, you're on mute if you're speaking. What about Arby? Austin, do you get it?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Okay. Hubert, are you able to make the angle thaw?
Yes, kind of.
Okay.
Like I'm working on it.
Okay.
Is it okay if you like replay it from the part after the dog earring part?
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't expect it to be
own phi angulotron by dog-earing a corner of your notebook.
okay.
If you
Step 1, you dog ear it. And how much degree is this angle?
45.
45. And plus, what's the bottom? That's perpendicular, right? The line between the line and the edge of the paper. How much degree is that? The black line.
Sorry.
The black line and the edge of the paper. That's perpendicular, right? How much degree is that?
90.
90, awesome. So 45 plus 90 degree. How much degree is this angle from this line to the edge of the paper? How much degree is that?
45.
45 plus 90.
Okay, yeah.
135, right? we can just tear this off between this line and the edge. That's 135 degrees. That's okay. We just use that as the angle of the thaw. That's okay because it's just close enough. Or if you want to be precise, you can move the paper up a little bit, add 2 degrees here on this line, make it 137.5 degrees. Maybe we can just use 135 degrees, just to tear off this paper. And between this line and the edge of the paper, that's 135 degrees.
Folded it so the edge is on a line. You have 45.
I don't know how, you guys probably didn't learn geometry, right? That's probably why it was difficult for you. I'm sorry, because yeah, I didn't realize you guys probably didn't learn geometry.
Degrees plus 90, which is 135. Pretty close. And you have 45 degrees.
So this is a
dog earing a corner of your notebook. If you folded it so the edge is on a line, you have 45 degrees.
This is 135. We can just tear this, just tear here and here. And this angle is 135. This is close to golden angle already. We can just utilize this. Or you want to be precise?
90, which is 135. Pretty close to 137.5. If you're careful, you can slip in a couple more degrees. Detach your...
That's how you make 137.5. All right, everybody get this? All right, then we use this ruler, angle ruler, to make the petals.
About 137.
So the first petal, you just put the ruler there. And so this is going to be from here to here. Everybody can see my mouse, right? From here to here. That's 137.5. This is your golden angle. You just put your ruler, the paper there. You make half of the petal and take out the paper, draw the second half. That's your first petal. And the next is you draw half of the petal here and take out the paper, get the second half. That's your second petal. Can anybody, can everyone follow?
Yeah, we can follow.
Yeah.
0.5. Great. Your second leaf is pretty far from the first.
So we made 2 petals, right? These are the 2 petals. And the third petal, how do we use this? We move another golden angle.
Lots of space in the sun, and now
align the angle thaw to the second line, to this line, the second line, and move another 137.5 degree.
Let's add the next one, a fifth of a circle away.
This is your third petal. Can everybody follow this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. We made a third petal, and the fourth, you use this line, move another 137.5.
Way and again and again.
You align your angle thaw, align the line on the third line, and move. Draw another line. That's your fourth line. Basically, you put your angle thaw on top of this line, align this line, and you get another line. That's your fourth petal.
Miss Grace, we have a
Yes.
question. So when you draw,
I can't hear you. Can you say it again?
I think he's
Sorry.
lagging.
Can you say it again, please?
we want to know for the size of the petals. Do we draw them evenly, or the second round is smaller or bigger?
You can draw it evenly. So if you draw the petals small, you'll have more Fibonacci number in one circle. if you that's just that skinny petal. And look at the flowers the same, right? Some flowers they have big petal, and some flowers they have skinny petals. If you draw it skinny, you're gonna have more Fibonacci numbers in one circle. If you draw it wide, you're gonna have less Fibonacci sequence in one circle. So it doesn't matter if you draw it skinny or draw it wide. You'll see that those large flowers they have less number in one circle, but they have more layers. But like think about it like an acorn. Usually they are tiny, teeny tiny, but they'll have more in one circle. So it doesn't matter if you draw the petals skinny or wide.
You can see how new leaves tend to pop up in the space.
So I guess we can just do here. I think everybody's at least able to draw 3 petals. Then next is 5. You can continue to do this later on. I'm just going to show you some application of how we use this golden angle in the real world. All right, everybody can just do this in your free time. Okay, just draw petals. So next, I'm going to show some sorry, let me flip my screen. How do I flip my screen? Okay, we'll just see this, okay? So can somebody tell me what is this?
The apple symbol, I guess.
Okay, great. So behind this, there is a golden ratio. Can you tell me where is the golden ratio? Like which line divided which line is golden ratio? You guys see it every day, right? You're using iPad, iPhone. Everybody has something having this this symbol, this logo, I should say. Did I just draw the line?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. How did I draw the line? Can somebody have a guess? Okay, so first might be difficult. Okay, so let me just show you guys. So this is an apple, and on the top, what is this called? Can somebody tell me what is this called?
Like a stem or a leaf.
Okay, this is a stem. How did you do this? How did you draw it? Is that a Franklin? Oh, never mind. So this is a stem, and what is this? Somebody bite it, right? So why do they on here on the kink somebody bite it versus the stem? A divided by B. What is this number?
The golden ratio.
Exactly. So you guys see it every day, and you think this logo is really beautiful, right? This is a classic logo, and you see it, you just feel this is an awesome logo. But behind it, why it give you you feel this is such a great, appealing logo? Because behind it, it's the golden ratio. It just gave you a aesthetic feeling, really appealing. Let you feel beautiful. This is a wonderful logo. And the next, what is this?
The Twitter symbol.
Right, this is a Twitter, right? It's the bird. It's a tweeting bird, and we use Twitter every day as well. You see it every day. So what's behind it? What are these? Do you guys still remember this? Last class, I asked you guys to draw the squares. Do you guys remember?
Yeah.
And we made a golden spiral based on the Fibonacci number. So this bird is actually built on top of these are called golden circles. So if you the radius of the smaller circle and the large circle, they all came from Fibonacci numbers. So you think somebody just randomly draw the bird? That's not true. Behind it, these are all the golden circles. They just put on top of all these golden circles and made this bird. Interesting, right? And the next, what is this?
The Pepsi thing.
Great. This is the Pepsi. This is the Pepsi logo. And do you guys see golden circles behind it? Are you guys able to tell how many golden circles we have here? Let me show you. These are the two, so there are two circles here. One circle around here, and outside is the big circle. So between A and B, what is the ratio? Can somebody tell me what's the ratio between A and B?
Like about 1.6.
Exactly. That's also golden ratio. So you just think it gives you the feeling that hey, the circle, the logo, they're really beautiful of all these big companies, but they spend a lot of money hiring people to design these logos. And those artists, you think they are artists, but behind it, it's math. It's mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think everybody remember last class I asked you guys to draw the golden spiral. It comes from these number series. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 2 plus 3 equals 5. 3 plus 5 equals to 8. These are what we learned in kindergarten, right? I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to move to on the second class. I missed it. We'll talk later. What I'm just saying is from number theory to algebra and then to geometry. Those are we're gonna learn next class. Okay. Sorry. We'll have to move on next class. See you everybody later. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
So thanks, Miss Grace, so much for showing us something we haven't really thought about or learned about before. We appreciate very much. And for rest of you, can we all say thank you, Grace? Thank you, Miss Grace. Can you all say together?
Thank you, Miss Grace.
Thank you, Miss Grace.
You're welcome. See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break. Let's come back 12:05, and we will have our high schoolers, Michelle and Elizabeth, to teach us about English. Okay, take a break, and we'll come back. See ya.
I need to give you back the host, right, Sherry?
Oh, you're okay, because today I learned you are actually a panelist. You can still share with us.
Oh, awesome. Every day we learn new stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We learned so much. And another thing is, Miss Grace, if you have some homework for them, you can post it in our WeChat group, and then the mom will say it. Mom will ask the student to help them to finish their homework.
Okay, probably not. I just want
No
them to have fun.
And also for next class, let's coordinate with next class. So originally, let me see, what's our plan? I'll share my screen. So rest of your students can take a break. I'll just use this time to coordinate what's the next class with Miss Grace. I'll share my screen. So Grace, you can see what's our plan. Let me get my able. this is our class. Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so we have you next class. Original plan is I was going to teach leadership. Is that okay with you, Miss Grace?
Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
Okay, so we'll do a few things about leadership, and every kid get a chance to do something, and then prepare for their child leading class. Everybody is going to share a little bit, and then there will be more classes from high schoolers. So Miss Grace, there's a couple things I kind of change it a little bit. Is you will still do next math class, and for this career cruising thing I talk about, because our high schoolers have more volunteers, they want to help out as well. So maybe for July 25th, I would like the high schoolers to take this class. So I will do this high schoolers. We got more and more momentum here. And also for the August 8th class, we set a party, but right now it's hard to do party, right? So we'll maybe still ask our high schoolers to share some things with us. So they got 2 more sessions. That's because we have a more momentum from the older kids. And for other thing I want to discuss with you, Miss Grace, is we ask for like a $20 per 2-hour program from other students, but not you, and not those parents who have done so much work. And I will send those posts on the WeChat group. And when you say it, maybe you can help to broadcasting the information to the parents. What we want to to get them to donate the $20 is because later time those students, high schoolers and the middle schoolers, they can use this money to do some donations or some social work together.
Well, yeah, that's fine. I think it's okay for the high schoolers, but maybe for our parents, me and Susan's parents session, probably not. That's just my thought. But it's completely volunteer, right?
Yeah, it's a volunteer. We just ask for donations from the middle schoolers, not for high schoolers. High schoolers is they are kind of contribute.
Yeah. I mean, just for the high schooler session.
Yeah.
Just donated for those session, not the parents session. But that's fine. That's okay. It's completely voluntary.
Yeah, we just ask for that, and money will be used for the high schoolers and the middle schoolers anyway. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks again. We'll just take a break for a couple of minutes. We'll be back.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
And I'm gonna share the slideshow right now. Okay, can everyone see the screen?
No.
Wait, so can anyone see the screen at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so if everyone can see the screen, we're gonna get started. So basically today we're gonna teach you guys some English argumentative writing skills. So what do you know about argumentative writing? Does anyone want to answer? Okay, well, argumentative writing is a type of writing where you try to persuade the audience into believing your opinion. Okay, so we're gonna go over thesis statements. So, a thesis statement is your opinion about the prompt. Has anyone written a thesis statement before?
Yeah.
I have.
Okay, so what do you guys know about thesis statements?
I guess it's basically your claim.
That's good. So basically it has to be arguable, or else there's no essay. There's no point in the essay. And then it has to be written in a complete sentence and in third person.
Elizabeth, are you still there?
Hello?
Yeah, you just glitched out, I think.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the screen share.
Okay.
So can everyone still see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is our first thesis statement example. Does anyone think that this is a good thesis statement? And why or why not?
Yeah.
It's a good
Why?
thesis statement.
Because it's third person and it's arguable.
Okay, it does fit the top two criteria, but we gotta keep going. So it's dry and it's boring, and and in order to enhance the thesis, we have to include some supporting details. So we have to include 3 reasons for why we have this thesis. Here's another example. Is this a better thesis compared to the first one?
Yeah.
Teenagers should be allowed to get tattoos since tattoos can cause infections and health problems, and they will likely regret it after.
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, cool. And okay, so there's 3 reasons if you can identify that it will cause infections, health problems, and regret later. So when you guys write your theses, you should include 3 reasons to make it stronger. And then each reason becomes the topic sentence for a body paragraph. Okay, we'll do some practice now. So we have to create a strong thesis for each of these topics. Should people under 18 be allowed to vote? Can anyone create a strong thesis on the top of their head?
I guess people under 18 should not be allowed to vote because they are because they don't really I guess understand politics, I guess.
Okay, so that's a good starting point, but can we build off of that to make it a strong 1-sentence thesis? Okay, next topic.
Oh.
Okay, dogs or cats? Okay, let's see. Should I call on people? Okay,
Dogs.
Hubert, what's your idea? Make a thesis. Dogs or cats?
Cats are better pets than dogs because they are more independent, they are less noisy, and they don't need your attention all the time.
Okay, that was good. He had 3 reasons and a strong thesis, and he used third person, and it's very arguable. Does anyone agree with that?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, last topic. Should schools have a dress code? Who can make a good thesis? Okay, do you want me to call on someone again, or does anyone want to volunteer? Okay, Hubert, since you did the last one, you can choose who you want to call on.
Okay, hold on. How about Austin?
Hello. School should have a dress code because it eliminates how do I put this?
There's traps.
Hello?
I'm writing in chat right now, so.
Okay. Does someone want to read the chat out loud?
Sure.
Read it, please.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, so while we wait, let's continue. So we're going to identify if the following theses are strong or weak. So people under 18 should not be able to vote. Is that a strong thesis or a weak thesis?
Weak,
Why?
because there's no reasons for supporting that or supporting.
Yep, that's correct. It's weak. Okay, number 2. Dogs are the superior pet option due to their compassion towards humans' ability to be trained in playful energy. Is this strong or weak?
Strong.
Why?
Because there's 3 reasons and there's like advanced vocabulary-ish.
Yes, that's correct. It is a strong thesis. And then last one, I believe that schools should not have a dress code because students should be able to express themselves. Is strong or weak?
Weak, because there's the personal pronoun I.
Yeah, that's correct. It's weak. It's weak because there's a personal pronoun and also there's only one reason. Okay, have you written the thesis for should schools have a dress code yet?
Yeah, it's in chat.
Okay, can someone read it out loud?
Schools should have a dress code because it eliminates possible distractions, prepares children for workplace where there will be dress codes, and follows a precedent of previous schools.
That's a good thesis. It has 3 reasons and it is arguable. Good job. Okay, now we're gonna go through formatting skills. Has anyone heard of the Peck method?
No.
Okay, so have you guys heard of CER?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Peck is basically CER, but like different words. So we can just call it CER so that you're familiar with it. So the Peck/CER method is a simple approach to creating a strong writing. Okay, so does anyone know what C stands for in CER?
Claim.
Okay, does anyone want to guess what P stands for in Peck? Okay, well, so C does stand for claim, and in Peck it stands for point, but if you guys are more familiar with CR, we can go with that. And then what about E? They're the same in both.
What does
Evidence.
Yeah, that's correct. Oh, shoot. Okay, so the point claim is the point you're making on what you're trying to prove. And it should answer the question in the prompt. And then E does stand for evidence. So evidence is textual evidence from articles and sources to support your claim. And then you have to carefully select your quote that supports your claim. You shouldn't select a quote that doesn't do anything for your claim. And it has to be embedded in MLA format, which we will go over. And then, what does R stand for in CER?
Reasoning.
Yeah, it stands for reasoning. And if you are familiar with PEC, it stands for commentary. It's the same thing. So basically, you have to explain how the quote supports the point of the paragraph. And then you don't say what the quote means, but you have to explain why it's important. And then you can't assume that the reader will see the connection. You have to answer the questions, so what? What's my point? And then the basic structure of CER or PEC is one sentence for the point, one sentence for the evidence, and 2 to 3 sentences of commentary. And it's in total 4 to 5 sentences. You have to answer questions and provide reasoning. And then in a PEC paragraph, each paragraph should be like TPEC, which is 9 to 11 sentences. So like 1 topic sentence and 2 PECs. Okay, are you guys familiar with MLA citations?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to explain what you know about it?
Well, I guess it's basically just citing the source, and like using like a specific format. Normally we use like this OWL Purdue website, and it basically just like cites it for you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So we're gonna focus on how to quote things in like your essay so that it's not plagiarism. So if you want to put a direct quote, here's an example. You can tell that, does someone want to read it for us?
To save Prim from participating in the games, Katniss shouts, "I volunteer."
Okay, so what do you notice about the quote and the citation?
Basically it's the citation is the author's last name and the page number.
Exactly. And then here's an indirect quote. So whoever read the last quote, you can pick someone to read this quote.
Abby.
Huh? Can you read the quote?
I don't see anything.
They're sandwiching it inside the sentence in a way that flows with the sentence. It's not like outside of the sentence. And it's once again cited with the parentheses, author's name, and page number. And then the third type of MLA citation is a paraphrase. So an example is Peeta and Katniss are both declared winners of the Hunger Games, and you cite it with the same author's name and page number, but the thing is, you're paraphrasing the quote instead of quoting it. So here's the format. So you put the author's last name and page number in a parentheses, and you put the period after. The question marks and exclamation marks stay inside the quotations, but periods, you take it out of the quotation, you put it after the parentheses. And then quotation marks surround the quote. And if you have a quote within a quote, you use the single quotations. So for example, Taylor growled, and if he did, I'm here to stop him. You can see how there's the single quotations inside of the regular quotations. And then if you're removing the middle of a quote, you use ... which, here's an example, I shall be brief. This case is as simple as black and white. And then if you're adding or changing a word, you can use brackets. So probably in the original sentence, it said Stella broke. Bobby explained that Stella broke his.
Hello?
Is this quote properly cited?
Elizabeth, you kind of just cut off there. Could you like repeat the quote for the students?
Okay. Are these quotes properly cited? So I'm going to read the quote, and then you're going to tell me if it's properly cited. So, while involved in Hinduism, Siddhartha was unsatisfied with his spirituality because he knew only half the truth, lacking totality, completeness, and unity of the world. Can anyone tell me if this is properly cited?
Elizabeth, I don't think we can see this shared screen.
Okay, I'm gonna share it again. Okay, can we see it now?
Not really. It's just black.
Okay, hold up. Can you see anything?
No.
It just says that you started screen sharing.
How about now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Cool.
Thanks for the answer key.
It's okay. Okay, are these quotes properly cited? First quote, I already read it. Who wants to tell me?
Yes?
That's correct. Second quote, as the lion escaped the cage, Brian exclaimed, "Help, it's chasing after me."
No.
No.
Why?
Because there's no quotations around the whole thing.
That's correct. The exclamation mark should be inside the quotations. It was extremely hard for Gabriella to dance the night away, knowing that she did not deserve to be prom queen. Is this correct?
No,
Why?
because there's no period after the parentheses.
That's correct. And also there's no comma in between author's name and page number. And then last one, to be ignorant to injustices and discrimination is to be the enemy of good, and the only way to prevent disregard for moral corruption is through education. Is this correctly cited?
Yes.
No.
Why?
Yes.
Why'd you say no?
Wait, never mind. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, it is yes. So basically for articles, if the author, you can put the article name into the parentheses instead of the author. Okay, Michelle, go ahead.
All right. So has anyone heard of ethos, pathos, and logos?
Yes.
Can you explain what they are?
They're basically these things that writers use in order to persuade a specific audience.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Let's see what they are, what they're used for. So ethos, pathos, and logos are the three key appeals that make up any effective argument. So yes, they're for persuasion. And so for ethos is basically the credibility and authority of the speaker or whoever is doing the writing. It could be either you or the person who wrote the article. For example, the author of this article on bacteria has a PhD in biology. So that's an example of how to show ethos. And now we're going to talk about pathos, which is the emotional appeals that the speaker makes in his or her argument. For instance, if you're trying to persuade someone, then you would use pathos. And one example of pathos is the shivering puppy curled up in the corner of the abandoned house. This is pathos because it appeals to your sense of loneliness and you can relate to the sad puppy. And then for logos, these are logical appeals, and it's the logic the speaker uses to prove his or her point. For example, because the temperature is 30 degrees Fahrenheit today, it will be cold, so you should bring a coat. So this logically shows why you should bring a coat today. And in this image, you can see that these three work together like a triangle to help persuade people of your argument. And next slide, please. Okay, now we're gonna do some practice. So in this scenario, imagine you're trying to convince your parents to buy you a new phone. What's one example of ethos that you might use?
Pathos.
How would you prove that you're credible enough to get a phone?
Because you would like get good grades, I guess, or be responsible, show discipline.
Those are all really good examples of pathos, and you can use them because you're a student. And if you show that you're hardworking, your parents will be more likely to get you a phone. All right, what about pathos? How would you use emotion to convince your parents to get you a new phone? For example, you could plead with love or caring.
You can call on someone.
Would anyone like to volunteer?
How about? What was that? Never mind.
Okay. It's fine. We can go over this more later on. Now, does anyone have any examples of logos that you could use to convince your parents? Why should you logically get a new phone?
So I guess never mind. Sorry.
It's fine. Anyone else want to take a guess?
Convince your parents on the benefits of you having a phone.
Yeah, that would be logos. And do you know some of the benefits that could potentially come from it?
Like you can call the police if you're in trouble. And you can stay in touch with friends and family.
Those are all really good. And now we're going to see some other examples that you could have provided. So for ethos, you could say you're a hardworking student. And for pathos, this is sort of emotional manipulation, I guess, but you could say, if you loved me, you would give me a phone. Or like, I'm your daughter or son, so you should get me things that I want because you care for me, right? Those are all emotional appeals. And then for logos, you can say, having a phone allows you to contact me with if needed, because parents care a lot about safety. So appealing to logos will help them logically see why you should get a phone. And there are benefits for not just you, but also for them.
Okay, now we're going to go over the formatting of an argumentative essay. Has anyone written an argumentative essay before?
I think we all have.
Okay, that's good. That's very good. Okay, so first, the introduction paragraph. You have to have a hook to make the audience interested in your topic. This has to be somewhat interesting to catch their attention. And then you introduce your topic by providing background information. Explain why you're arguing, your point and why it's important to the audience to know. And then you have your thesis statement, which we already went over. And then we have the body paragraph. So we're gonna call it the CER method, okay? So your first paragraph, you're gonna have a counter argument, and you're gonna have your first claim. And in your first claim, so your counter argument will be 1 CER, and your first claim can be 1 or 2 CERs. And then So you present your counter argument, and you have, which is evidence from the opposing side, and you have to prove them to be wrong. And then you transition into your first claim, present evidence and reasoning. And then your second paragraph is your second claim, and you also present your second claim with evidence using multiple CRs. And so is your third paragraph. So for your second and third paragraph, you should have two CR format sentences for your claims. And then for your conclusion, you're going to restate your thesis and connect your body paragraphs, which is your 3 main points. And you have to end the essay strong, leaving the readers with something to think about. Michelle?
So now we're going to go over the MLA format for your entire essay. Have you guys learned what MLA format is? And for overall, like the font and spacing?
Yeah.
What is MLA format?
Well, it's basically just like citing the sources that you use to write your argumentative essay, and then using like a specific format to like cite it.
Yeah, that's pretty close. That's MLA citations. But right now we're talking about MLA format, which is the type of font size you use and the type of font you use. So it's used for most types of formal writing, at least when you're in school. And then the next point is that you have to use Times New Roman, 12-point font, and double-spaced writing. This is very important. And a lot of your teachers will probably ask you to do this in high school, so make sure to note it down. And then after that, the next point is generally you'd have your last name and page number in the upper left-hand corner. So you can do this a variety of ways on any writing platform. And also you need to have 1-inch margins on each side of the page. That way it's formatted properly. And double space is just a convention of how it's usually written, because that way it makes it much easier to see and read the writing. So here's one example of how you would format. And the thing on the left hand is called the header. The header, or not the header, but this is your heading for MLA. So at the top, you put your first name and then your last name. You put your teacher name below that. After that, you list your subject, like English or science, and you put a comma, and then you write which period that is. At the very end, you would put the due date in this format, 20th June 2020. You put the day first, then you write out the month, and then you put the year. And you can see that in the, that's the upper right-hand corner. In the upper right-hand corner, you put your last name and the page number. Okay, so now we're going to go over in-text citations more in depth. So what in-text citations are for are to cite work from a specific source. And usually you would connect this to your MLA bibliography at the very end, but we're not going to go over that today. Do you guys know how to do in-text citations? Elizabeth already went over some of the rules. Does anyone remember them?
So I guess like if you're using a book, then or article, then you do like the author's last name and like the page number.
That's correct. Now let's see what else there is. So yes, for books or articles with page numbers like PDFs or government reports, you put the author's last name and page number. So how we format it is on the next point, which is the quote, and then you put the author's and page number in parentheses with the period after, not before. And if, for instance, you're trying to cite a book from Harry Potter, an in-text citation might be, you have the quote, and you have Rowling 12. Rowling is the author name, and then 12 is the page number. And then you see the punctuation at the very end. So that should just be review. But what do you do if there's no author? If there's no author, then you just take the article title and use a shortened version, because some article titles are really, really long. Just take the key parts of the title and put it in quotation marks. And if there's no page number, you can just skip it. There's a lot of different ways to cite it. but that's how you do it. So if you have an article by author, one citation might be you have the quote, and then you just have the author last name. Or you have the article, as you can see in the second example. If you're getting a quote from article 2 and there's no author, then your citation would be quote, and then article 2 in parentheses. And then there should be a period afterwards. So what you do for the formatting is that the article title will usually be in quotes, while book titles are in italics. The general rule is that the shorter works, like articles or poems, will have their titles in quotations, while book titles and any other longer works will be in italics. And if there's no page number, you can also cite by line, paragraph, or just having the author last name. It depends on how your teacher wants it and how you learn it generally. But if you're citing by line, you just write line and then the line number. And if you're citing by paragraph, you write PAR, period, and then the paragraph number. Or you can just write para 2. And if you don't want to do any of those, then you just have the author. Okay, next slide. So now we're going to go over a practice. So please create an in-text citation for the following source. First, you're going to see the link, and then it's going to list the quote and the paragraph citations afterwards. The next few points. Okay, that's good. So the article title is called Argumentative Essays, and the quote is, argumentative essays must establish a clear thesis and follow sound reasoning. And this is from paragraph 3. So feel free to type out one potential citation in the chat, or you can read it aloud too. And I'll give you guys a minute or two to do this. All right, and make sure you have the correct punctuation. Make sure you put the quotations where they should be, and try to introduce the quote by saying something relevant and then having the quote itself instead of just putting the quote there. All right, is anyone almost done with their citation?
Should we just move on?
Okay, sure.
Yep, so someone just sent it in the chat.
Oh, okay. So one potential answer from the slides is that the article notes that argumentative essays must establish a clear thesis and follow sound reasoning. And you would put the article in quotation marks and then para 3 and then put the whole thing in parentheses and put the period after. The one in the chat says, according to paragraph 3, argumentative essays must establish a clear thesis and follow sound reasoning, period, paragraph 3. This is pretty close, but first of all, the period would go after the parentheses. So you put it at the very end. Don't put it inside the quotation marks. And then you would also not capitalize argumentative because it goes in the middle of the sentence. Well, it kind of depends on what your teacher's rules are or what conventions you're following. But if you change something from the original quote, you have to put it in brackets. So since argumentative isn't originally capitalized, you would have to put the A in brackets. And other than that, it's pretty close. But for the in-text citation, make sure you put the article title too, not just the paragraph. And on the slides, here are a few more examples of different ways to do in-text citations. So if you're doing it from a book or an article with the author's name and page number, then you can write the author's last name, for example, Wordsworth, and then you put just the page number at the end. This is a little bit more complicated, so it's fine if you don't do it, but it says, Wordsworth stated that romantic poetry was marked by a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, quotation mark, and then the page number 263 in parentheses. And another way you could do an in-text citation for this is, romantic poetry is characterized by the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, and Wordsworth 263. So in this case, you can put the author name at the beginning or at the end in the citation.
Okay, so we're going to go over some do's and don'ts of argumentative writing. So some do's: make sure to use transitions between paragraphs and points. Use popular MLA format and quotations, which Nichelle just went over, and then embed quotes into the sentence. Choose quotes that need analysis. Capitalize names and use correct pronouns. Make sure you answer the prompt and have clear and strong thesis and topic sentences. Some don'ts: don't use vague language. Be specific. Don't use first or second point of view. Always use third point of view, and avoid phrases that says what the author is trying to say. Avoid direct phrases. You can use them a few times, but it gets repetitive. And then don't use "this quote shows," because that's just too direct, and it diverts from the flow of the essay.
Now we're going to go over a few helpful terms that you could use to write your essays. And the first one is for counter-argument or rebuttals. So counter-argument is when you're saying the other perspective may be correct, but mine is better. And so you can use words such as alternatively, conversely, however, moreover, nevertheless, on the other hand, yet. And you'll be able to see these in the slides later to help you with your own writing. And as you can see, these terms all oppose one point and transition into another. Then for quotes, if you're trying to attribute a quote to somebody, then you can use according to, agreed that, as stated by, emphasized, highlighted, implies, introduced, note, stated, suggest. For example, if you're saying the author stated that, or you shouldn't say it directly, but if you do, then you can use such terms. Or this article by this person with a PhD in this subject implied that would also provide ethos. And another important thing to use is use transitions, as Elizabeth said in the previous slide about conventions. So some helpful transitions are besides, especially, furthermore, in addition, not only, but also, similarly, with regards to, and you can find a whole lot more online. These can help you transition between paragraphs or between two slightly different topics inside your essay. And for ethos, you can use quite a few terms to prove credibility. For example, authority, credentials, credible, power, strength, and true. And the last three are components that make someone credible. So you can emphasize them to show that this author is credible or that you are credible. For pathos, you can use emotions such as fear, hatred, hope, love, scorn, and shame to convince or persuade your audience to do what you want them to. And to emphasize these, you can use words like very, a lot, so much, or you can also use words with certain emotional meanings like dire, severe, depressing. And for logos, you can use words that imply logic, like as a result, because of, due to, therefore, and thus. And these all show logical reasoning from one point to another. Okay, so now we're going to write about or go over a few articles that show two sides of a different perspective, which is very relevant to us now because right now we're learning online a lot. And these articles will be about the benefits of online learning versus the benefits of traditional/classroom learning. And there are also some about both. So for your homework this class, you're going to use what you've learned in class today to write an argumentative essay that supports either online school or a normal traditional and classroom school. And you can use the articles shown on the previous slides, or you can find any articles that you think might be helpful. And while you're reading these, try to take notes on the key points so that will better enable you to write your argumentative essay. Make sure you have a clear thesis and follow the format that we've outlined previously, CER or PEC. And if you haven't already, join the Express Education Google Classroom and turn in your essay on the assignment before our next Zoom lecture. And you can see the class code here, or we should have sent an invite to all of you, so you guys can just accept the invite, and then you'll be able to have access to this assignment as well as the slides that we've gone over today.
Yeah, make sure you create a Google Doc to write your essay on. And the assignment's already posted, so you can get started whenever, but you have a whole month to write it. And next lesson, we will be peer editing essays. Oh, Michelle, you want to go over it?
Okay, sure. For our next lesson, we're thinking about having us peer edit each other's essays, so make sure you get your essays done. We'll be going over a little bit of grammar, and here's the link to the rubric that we'll be using to peer edit and grade the essays. You guys can take a look at it so you know how your essay should work and what you'll be judged on. So yeah.
Yeah. So we know essay writing is sometimes a lot of work and annoying, but just try your best. It'll be good for you in the long run, and we will be giving you guys feedback so you guys can be better writers.
Can you guys post this Google slideshow on Google Classroom?
Yeah, it's posted in Google Classroom.
Okay.
So we have these posted in Google Classroom. Make sure you join the link. And then also, Sam sent out a link for a survey, so please copy that link and fill it out. If you don't get the link from here, we'll also post one on Google Classroom. Make sure you join the Google Classroom. That's where all the information will be. Sam's assignment is already on there, and yeah, everything will be easier if you just join it.
Yes, I sent out an invite to everyone 2 days ago. So if you guys could check your emails and join the classroom, we're going to post all our homework assignments on there, and you guys will also be turning in all your homework assignments on there.
What's the code?
Michelle, could you show the code? Wait, okay, let me pull it up.
Hold on. I can send it in the chat.
Okay, the code is JXHDGQP.
Yep.
So is everyone on the Google Classroom?
Yeah.
And then make sure to the survey that's sent in the chat too.
Okay, so for our next lesson, that will be occurring on June 27th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Your teachers will be Jonathan and Kashyap. They'll be teaching you guys about basic chemistry that you'll need in the upcoming 8th grade. So you guys can get like a preview on it and stuff. So that's for June 27th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can speak out right now.
Thank you, Sam and Michelle.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you. See you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Sam and Elizabeth and Michelle. Thanks for all you have shared today. And you did a very good preparation. I see you have a great presentation PowerPoint slides. Thank you. And see you next week. See everybody next week. And try to do your homework as soon as possible. Although there's a 1 month, but you will have a homework from this week and next week also. So try to do it one homework each week. And goodbye. Have a great Saturday and tomorrow as well. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.